Hope everyone's safe. Obviously, we went out today and had somewhat of a practice, a watered down version of practice. And I thought the players, for the most part, were excited about going back on the grass and participate in some form of getting ready to play a football game. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
We'll open it up to questions. Use the raise hand function. Cameron.
Hey, Coach, it's good to see you. Hope you're feeling well and welcome back.
Thank you.
Just how have these last few weeks been for you as someone who just loves to be on the grass and not to be able to be with your team, probably stuck in a room for most of the time? Just one, how are you doing? And what have these last couple of weeks been for you?
I think, when you hear of athletes and just people in general having the virus, your thoughts are, how do you handle this? And obviously, now that I had gotten it, it is it's something that I don't wish upon anyone. When you think about your life and we take just getting up every day for granted, having our health, and we have our schedule already planned out the night before what we're going to do, and to have to sit in the room for 10, 11 days, it was pretty tough for me. I've never had that in my lifetime, to stay quarantined for that long of a period. And I think the thing that you think about, you reflect. You have these reflection moments when you're sitting there, laying there, whatever you're doing, and you just think about all the things that are really important in your life. And it was important for me to make sure that I was safe. I kept my family safe for the most part. But then getting back to the players, it was quite a day for me when I actually came back and saw the players. You don't realize how much you miss it until it's taken away from you in that sense. And so I'm glad I'm back. It's good to be back in the building, be around our staff and the players that are here at this point in time.
Hi, Herm. Just two quick questions. First of all, what percentage of the team was able to practice today? And second question, the players that did not have to quarantine, did not test positive, how many days of strength and conditioning were they able to do with Joe Connolly dating back to last week?
Well, I won't give out numbers. Not going to do that. But I'll say this. We had enough to have what we call a light, whatever you want to call it. So I think the players that were there had a bunch of energy, were excited, as well as the staff that was there. So I'll leave it at that. And Joe's done a remarkable job along with Jerry and the rest of our crew. This has been an 8-month journey when you think about it. This thing happened on March 8th. And I can remember talking to the team at that point, and Dr. Lancaster spoke on what precautions and what things necessary we needed to do to be safe and protect those around us. And so this has been a long 8 months. It's not just the last 2 weeks. It started in March. And when you can think about it, this building really, for the most part, was never closed. Now the players weren't here all the time, but there were staff members, there were people dealing with football, trying to figure out the season at that point was going to be postponed if we were going to have an opportunity to play. And that was brought up that we're going to get a chance to play. We were excited about that. And then this occurred and we were shut down for a little while. But everyone that's here that participated today is excited about being here. And we'll be excited when we're at full go again, whenever that happens.
Zach?
Hey, Coach. Zach Keenan with Devil's Digest. I'm glad you're healthy. You read this year in these. It's been a long absence. I wanted to ask about how you make sense of this, because I'd be lying if I said I wasn't also disappointed, as I'm sure all of us are. It's week 3 of no football. Last year on All Aboard, we hear about Jordan Clark saying he talked to Chase Lucas for a while last night. Tyler Johnson tweeting about getting emotional. How do you make sense of this, especially to the seniors? Because this is I can't imagine what they're going through.
Well, imagine if there's been 86 games canceled up to today in college football, 86. And I actually told the players that. I said, now, how we handle this, this what I call in life, how you navigate all this, the inconvenience of life, how you look at it, where do you go from here? And I said, the great thing is that we actually went on the field today. And that's all we can control. And, this is a day-to-day proposition. And I think you know that. You knew it when we got into this. I told my wife when we first started this deal, I said, you know what? I'm probably going to catch it. I was well aware of that. I knew exactly what I was walking into. And I did everything possible not to do it. And I went for 8 months, a whole 8 months, and did everything I could do to make sure that I wasn't going to contract the virus. And for God's sake, I didn't want to give it to anybody. And it happened. And so how you deal with it, I think is important. You're hoping you get well and then there's no long-term effects for players, for coaches, for anyone that has this. Anyone in America that has been involved in this, I'm hoping that they recover. A lot of people don't recover. There's a bad side of it too. And I just think that every person handles it a little bit different, but eventually you have to get up. You have to fight and you have to continue with your life. And there's a pause. And during that time of pause, there's a lot of reflection going on. I can promise you that.
Chris.
Herm, good to see you. My understanding is that you guys as a staff were planning to play, or trying to play at least, until early afternoon yesterday. Is that accurate? And what can you say about what the specific logistical challenges were to being able to get that accomplished?
Just numbers and just all those things were involved in it. And visiting with Ray and all the powers to be, we didn't want to hold Utah up any longer, right? They needed to know. And so we just felt it was the best interest for the health and safety of players, coaches, for this whole football team to not participate this week. I think the Pac-12 understood that. They wanted us to make decisions as fast as we could. Those things are sometimes very difficult. But when we came to the conclusion, this was the way we wanted to go. We decided to go this way, and now we're going to prepare to play UCLA or have a home game, which would be kind of good to see, playing at home.
Doug.
Herm, good to see you. Is your staff close to being intact? And also, have you had any players decide to just opt out for health or professional reasons or anything?
No players thus far, because of health reasons or anything like that I'm aware of. As I said, I can't divulge numbers when it comes to players or staff members. That's kind of been our stand on that. So I don't want to go down that road. But I'll tell you this: we look forward to here in the next couple of days and next week, where we'll be complete. I'll just put it that way.
Cameron.
Coach, this might be an obvious question, but just people seem to be talking about it. Why is it important for you guys to finish this season and play these last two games?
Well, I think it's important for a lot of reasons. We started something, and you have to finish it. You have to finish things in life, regardless of what it looks like and what it feels like. You can't quit. You don't get to tap out. That's never an option. It's never been an option my whole life. You don't get to do that, because then things become easy. Then it becomes, when it's hard, well, I'm gonna tap out, because it doesn't matter. It matters. It matters. It matters to the program. It matters to developing players, to get them some time to play. A lot of these young guys obviously will get an opportunity here to play And that's important for us. So as we move into the spring and we move into the recruiting, this recruiting thing all of a sudden is going to change dramatically. It's going to really change. You're going to recruit two type of players now. You're going to recruit the high school athlete, and you're going to create and recruit the guys that come in the portal, right? That's going to happen. There's a new way of recruiting. It is almost like the NFL. There's a draft and then there's free agency. The portal will open free agency. So now all of a sudden, the numbers you have to give scholarships, you got to ask yourself. I'm looking at both sides now. Now, does that hurt a lot of high school athletes? Yeah, it's going to hurt a lot of freshman athletes coming out. Not a percentage, because there's going to be other players available from different teams that elect to opt out when the season's over with. And so now the numbers change. How many high school players do you actually recruit? How many do you save to wait to see what's going to happen in the free agency world, I call it, right? So this is going to change.
Michelle.
Hey, Coach, good to see you. I've got to think that right now these games are about player development, and the question was just touched on that it's not as much about winning a Pac-12 South title as what are we going to do to set ourselves up for the spring and moving forward.
Well, you make a great point, but you still want to build into your program that winning and competing is very important. And I think our players understand that's very important. There's nothing like winning a football game. It's just all the work that's put in, all the work that these young people have done for 8 months to get themselves into a position to compete and have an opportunity to win a game. And that's why it's a shame that our first one didn't turn out the way we'd liked. And I think we got to grow from that. But going forward, you make a great point. We have to make sure that there are some young players that have been in this program now at certain positions for 2 years that need to play. I'm just saying we need to find a way to get them on the grass so we can evaluate them and see where they're at. And that gives them energy. That gives them a little bit of excitement as well.
Zach.
Coach, during the summer, we heard a couple different ways that players spent their social distancing and isolation. Kyle Soley told me that his mom bought him a new Xbox. I know that some players spent more time working out and film. What were your 12 days of isolation like?
Well, it was tough. My whole family was home. I would hear the knock on the door, and they would tell me breakfast is out there, and they'd leave it at the door, and I'd wait till everybody left and put it in there, and then I'd call them and tell them when I was done, and I'd put it outside, and they'd come take it. But it was a lot of reflection. Was answering a lot of calls, by the way, from people. It's kind of funny. You had a virus, and people are calling you and texting you, and I spent half the day just returning texts and calls. And the first thing they ask you, they go, "How you doing?" I say, "How do you think I'm doing? I'm sitting in a room. I ain't doing real good right now, right?" It's kind of amazing, but the warmth and the people that were getting in contact with me was just overwhelming. And you forget about how many friends you really have and people you know in your life, right? And I'm talking people that I haven't maybe heard from in 10 years. And they were calling or texting to make sure I was doing okay. And everybody's got some jokes to tell on text, and so you deal with that. I spent half the day just doing that every day.
Michael.
Yeah, Coach, great to see you back. When you talk, I know you just touched on it with obviously wanting to get wins in the spring, but what do you feel that, I know it's projecting ahead, but what do you feel, the spring will look like? Is it one of those things where, you want to get more on the field, obviously, but what's the spring going to look like for you guys?
Well, we're hoping that this thing is going to, subside, and there's this vaccine out there. But with that being said, who knows when players will get it? All the things you hear about how they're going to do it, we'll probably still be wearing masks. Who knows? I don't know. We anticipate starting spring early, like our first year. that I was here and being done by spring break. That's one of the models that obviously when you're sitting at home and you're thinking about the season and the next season and how you start spring ball and all these other stuff, well, that gave me a lot of time to do that, right? And so all those things become a factor, when we start, when we finish. And I think right now, the way I have it drawn up is we're going to start pretty early.
Nick,
Herm, good to see you. I know you can't say a whole lot, but a lot of teams have missed 1 games. Not unusual for teams to miss 2 games, but for it to be 3 games for you guys, 3 weeks down, like what went kind of so wrong?
Well, it was one of those deals where we knew at the end when we were getting ready to play Cal, and they weren't quite for sure. And then all of a sudden, that next week, it kind of got us, and then it just kept going. And before you knew it, we had a problem. And so it's just according to when it happens to you, and when things pop up, right? And it's a lot has to do with timing, to be quite honest. A lot has to do with timing. I mean, we were fine, and then things happen, and that's where we're at.
a few more questions. Mark.
Hey, Herm, good to see you. Good to see you back. Hey, just kind of going back to, when this all kind of came down and I guess each day as it kind of piled up here, had you ever faced anything like this adversity-wise on a football field? Is this the toughest challenge for you?
Yeah, because it's been 8 months. I think we can't lose sight of that. This has been an 8-month journey for everyone. For everyone, which is everyone in life. This has been in according to what your occupation happens to be, you're dealing with. And so, the only really catastrophic thing that happened that I was involved in, and I still remember like it was yesterday, was 9/11. I was the head coach of the Jets when that took place on a Tuesday. I can remember like it was yesterday. And that was tough. I think when you realize that something like that happened in America, it's almost shocking, right? And for us as a football team to go down there, and we did. We went down to the site, and we filled up trucks and things of that nature with water and supplies for the first responders as a football team, and saw a lot of those men and women coming out of those buildings, and they were truly the heroes. They were the heroes, and that was, then that went on for about a week or so, and then kind of things settled down, and we canceled games and all that, and then we got back into the mode of that. This has been different. This has been an 8-month journey, and it's been tough on everyone.
Cole.
Hey, Coach. Leadership is a huge aspect of football. Obviously, you as the face of the program and players we've seen step up into leadership roles this offseason, like Frank and Chase and Kyle. With that being said, how difficult is it to lead during such a time of uncertainty, especially when games can be canceled at a moment's notice?
Well, this is the most important thing, is how do you lead when there's controversy and all these things happen, right? And I think the thing about good leaders, what I've always learned is there's a consistency how you lead. You don't panic. I think you folks have watched me long enough now on how I handle myself on the sideline during the football game. There's a lot of different things that happen. But I think the players understood that coach won't panic. He'll have a plan. We'll have to adjust because he always talks about adjusting. And then we're going to move forward. And we're not going to dwell on what has happened. We're going to move forward on what we can do. And right now we can participate as a team in practice, preparing ourselves to play a football game. That's going to be our mindset, along with staying safe and keeping others around us safe. That's kind of been the deal. And it starts with me. And one thing they know about their head coach is that he's always going to tell them the truth. And he's always going to be consistent. He's always going to give them hope. He's always going to give them hope. They know that. They know it, they feel it, and they see it.
Last question, Doug.
When all this came down during the cow week, had someone told you that it was going to cost you guys 3 games? Would that have surprised you, or did you know that this was going to be a long-term thing?
No, you didn't know. You didn't know what was going to happen. You know, you knew Cal was right there on the edge, and they were up to the last day too. They were up to Friday, not knowing if they were going to be able to go. And so things happen for them where they get cleared and they went, right? But no, we never anticipated anything like this. I mean, you just don't. And like I said, we've been good for 8 months. This has been 8 months. I think sometimes we lose sight of that. This thing's been going on for 8 months. And we've been juggling this ball, and you know, for the most part, we did a really good job. And for some reason, we sit where we sit right now.
All right, thank you, Coach, for the time.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Stay safe.
Coach.
Thank you, Herm.
Stay safe.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks,
Good.
Coach.
Thanks,
Great
Coach.
seeing you, Coach.
Thank you. Bless you.